Hey, everybody, it's Honesty, and this is the Right Honesty Podcast.
Hello, hello.
Attorney General, how you doing?
I am excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well too. I could complain, but all in all, everything is, better than it could be. So we'll do that.
We can all complain
Right,
all the time.
right. And
We
it's
just
not
choose not
always
to.
useful. Right, right. Now, when it's
Correct.
useful, I'm gonna do it. But as of today,
Yes.
I'm all right.
Yes. Hmm.
So today, y'all, is somebody new. This is a new to me author that AG introduced me to, Kasha Thompson.
Yep.
Kasha Thompson. AG, how did you come across Kasha Thompson?
In fairness, because I was introduced to her by Lizette Bass. So shout out
Hey,
to Lizette
girl.
Bass, who I can't remember which group it was, but it was the prompt that we see often. What are you reading right now? And
Yeah,
Lizette said that she was reading Defensive Stance.
she's so cute.
And I've noticed that Lizette and I have similar. She tends to like some of the same things that I like in terms of characters and storylines and whatnot. And so, because Kasha was unfamiliar to me, I said, "Oh, I'll give it a try." Because Lizetta said she really enjoyed it, and I thoroughly enjoyed Defensive Stance. And then went through the rest of her catalog, which is, I think, less than 10 books, so
Mhm.
definitely manageable. And eventually said to you, "I want you to read Kasha Thompson," and I think you you ended up doing the same thing where
Yep.
you started with Defensive Stance, right, and then kind of went through the rest of her books, and we said, you know what, we'll talk about it since we both thoroughly enjoyed the stories, and new to both of us, and why not?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm actually excited to talk about these two because this the week today we're going to talk about Sight Unseen and Defensive Stance.
Mm-hmm.
Those were, I think, both of our favorites because we
Yep.
binged her, I think, all but one of her books.
Mm-hmm.
And both of these really, I think, I don't know, I'm torn. I can't remember what I said at the time, whether I liked one more than the other, but now I'm having a hard time choosing. Do you have a favorite between the two?
It's a I think I originally had Defensive Stance ranked as one, but
Hmm.
now I would say that I like them equally. Like, these were my two favorites.
Yeah.
Um these two couples, because there's things that were the way things were done in Sight Unseen that was a little bit different from how she did them in Defensive Stance. They're different
Hmm.
storylines, but I really, really, of her books, these two resonated with me the most.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. How do you want to split up this summary? Do you have one that you prefer to do a summary for over the other?
I'll take Sight Unseen.
Okay, let's do this.
So Sight Unseen is set in a reality show, which ordinarily I avoided Sight Unseen.
Mm.
Because I Sight Unseen, I think, was the last of her books that I read, because I read the synopsis. It is two, Evelyn and Quincy. They go on a marriage show. Think Married at First Sight, for those who watch that show, but the show has taken them individually through this extensive, background check, and what are you looking for in a soulmate, and so on and so forth. And the premise of the show is, after doing that process, the show can correctly identify your soulmate. And so they get selected for each other. They meet for the very first time on the day of the wedding. And then the cameras follow them for the next, is it 90 days? Is
Yeah, I
or
think so.
so.
Something like
And
that.
the I think the little twist, because I don't watch Married at First Sight or 90
Me
Day Fiance, I
either.
don't watch any of those, but you go into this understanding that yes, they are married, and it's a 90-day trial period, and the question is, will they decide to stay married to each other after the 90 days are up? um and so it starts very cute because they write notes to each other, both kind of like, "Oh my God, you must be crazy. What are you doing?"
Right.
But I have no doubt that you're beautiful. You're handsome. I hope that we laugh together. I hope that we enjoy each other. And they give each other a gift. And what's nice is that for both of them, even though they don't know each other, they picked things that resonated with the other.
Hmm.
So that's how we start off. They have this beautiful ceremony, and now the real fun begins, right? They're physically attracted to each other from the very beginning. So it's kind of like, whew, okay, he's not a dog. She's not a dog. Thank goodness. But now they have to get to know each other.
Right.
And they have to navigate how they combine their lives. And Quincy, we see struggles very hard with the presence of the cameras. Like he knows he signed up for that. Quincy is a lawyer, Evelyn is an artist, and he knows that he signed up for having the cameras follow him. But the more attracted he becomes to Evelyn, the more the cameras become a problem for him because he wants to be intimate, he wants to be vulnerable,
Yep.
and the cameras are there all the time. And as they slowly start to get to know each other, Evelyn notices that Quincy, he is good at drawing information out of people and very good at not disclosing information about himself. And what we learn is that Quincy comes from the foster care system, is a very tragic backstory of what happened with his parents. And because he is brilliant, he managed to, survive, get through it, go to college, go to law school, do very well for himself. Evelyn is a twin. She has a fraternal twin brother, Evan. Her mother is one of those, she was a showgirl and met the right man that she married as their stepfather because their father was there and then he disappeared and started a new family. And the mother now puts on airs. The mother now behaves as if she, went Ivy League or upper crust all the way, puts on a fake British accent. And she and Evelyn have a contentious, passive aggressive relationship because she does not agree with Evelyn's art. Meanwhile, Evelyn has her own gallery. And so
Yeah.
Evelyn's not a starving artist. She does pretty well, but her mother looks down upon it. And so we watch the two of them get to know each other, right? Once sex gets thrown in the mix, right? They have to get past the cameras wanting to be there to like
Mm-hmm.
almost watch it go in. And it's like he
Right.
like makes up an illness, to get over the physical hump. And so it's this, they're getting to know each other. They like what they're getting to know about each other, but also like always recognizing that they are still strangers. There's still so much they don't know about each other, but they are married to each other. And that this is more than just dating,
Yeah.
right? They have made this huge commitment to each other, and therefore the stakes are higher. And Evelyn's personality type is she likes to confront things head on. Quincy's personality type is he avoids, like he shuts down and then he gets out of the vicinity
Yeah.
to not address it. And so you see that clash of approaches on several occasions while they are falling in love with each other.
Yeah. And he pushes
um,
her away when he gets overwhelmed.
he does. And she, has to learn some things, with crumbs being dropped, right? Because Quincy, like I said, is great at drawing information out, but not great about sharing it. And so what we see is the two of them navigating how they feel about the other and uncertainty about how the other feels about them,
Mm-hmm.
even though they are showing each other that they care, they want to be together. There is that insecurity on both of their parts, and there is a slight misunderstanding as we get to the 90th day.
Yep.
I was like, Kasha, girl, why are you doing this to us? Where they have to choose, and everything kind of explodes because Quincy had allowed his ex, who he had no interest in anymore, no intentions of doing anything. He just allows her a little too much access because she continues to text him, and in some instances she's getting a little provocative and he does not respond really.
Mm-hmm.
But he also doesn't block her, and his best friend tells him, you need to block her, right?
Yeah, buddy.
But I know you're not going to. And so he kind of goes into that and entertains that. And Evelyn, I think, that coupled with her insecurity causes her to, behave rashly, and then they have this very dramatic moment. But we do have a happily ever after. So it's an enjoyable experience watching this whole thing evolve.
Yeah, I thought they were so I guess we can jump into impressions. I thought that it was sweet. I thought that it was well written. I love a breakup, so I was happy that we got a couple of moments of their growing pains and kind of them rubbing up against each other's rough edges. And I also I liked her relationship with her brother. I thought that was cute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And her relationship with her mother, I thought was interesting. I think it is a common trope, but although
Yep.
her mother didn't, it wasn't, it was, I think it was a combination of things that her mom wasn't totally into her life choices, right? Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
some
But
of that,
it was just coming from a place of like the audacity, right? Because it was
yes.
like, sis, you were a Las Vegas showgirl. Like, and her mother's attitude was, well, but I got away from that to give you and your brother a better life. And it was like, but still,
And like
like,
I married up so that, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
so for you to
yeah,
choose this lifestyle that I intentionally was trying to either get myself away from and or get you away from is like a slap in the face.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I also he I liked him, but the pushing of the away when he got in his feelings, do not like.
yeah. No, it was frustrating to watch, right? And
Yeah.
I at least I gave Quincy credit for recognizing that he did that, but like it was like, okay, if you recognize that you're doing it, now I need you to go to the next step and be like, let me. And she said that to him at one point, right? She's like, I understand that that's your way. My way is of addressing things, and I need you to. I forget what incident it was, but she was like, I need you to fix this, right? And he immediately is like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have handled it that way. I really apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, um, but that happened. I had to remind myself they were still in the first, right, whatever it was, the 90 days or whatever. It wasn't going on for a year, right? And she's like, hello, hello, hello. Because I mean, just think, like, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine marrying someone and we know nothing about each other.
Right.
I
Right.
marvel at these shows, and yet these shows continue to do well because people do it,
Yep.
right? People do it.
Or at least
So,
like to watch it.
right, right, right.
Yeah. Um, well, I guess we can get into it. What did you love?
I just, I like the storyline
Mm-hmm.
because considering that I didn't want to read this story because it involved a reality show. I was like, because I don't watch any of those shows on television, so I did not think I was going to be interested in reading a story that revolved around that type of show. So in that respect, I really enjoyed it once I got into it because I was like, oh no, I'm with this, right? And Quincy reminded me of how I would probably be, right? But I mean, I wouldn't sign up for a show like that because I wouldn't want the cameras in my face, right? And so watching him try to have his cake and eat it, right? In a sense of like
Mm.
he knew he signed up for this, but Quincy was coming up with all like Quincy gets them chastised and threatened with lawsuits at one point because they, you know, lose the camera crew. They're out and about. This is set in Chicago, and they're out and about somewhere, and they deliberately lose the camera crew on the train, and then turn off their mics and disappear for the rest of the day. Right. And,
Mm.
understandably, the show is not happy with them after that happens. But I got it. Right. This notion of he has this chemistry with this woman and it's growing and their dynamic is good. And it's like these damn cameras. They're everywhere. He never got to the point where he could completely ignore it, whereas Evelyn did, right? She just didn't let it bother her, and it just stuck in his craw. So I got that, and I think it just surprised me how much I ultimately ended up enjoying it. So rather
Yeah.
than like specifics about the story, I loved the story, and it was a pleasant surprise for me because I was so hesitant to read it, figuring I wasn't going to enjoy the setting.
Yeah. Yeah. I I loved, I think, so I loved, like you were saying, they're coming together. And I liked, so she was my favorite. I did like him, but I think I liked her point of view because she was the more open, willing, like maybe emotionally stable. Not that he was volatile, but she kind of had like, she just was a little bit more mature emotionally and maybe had witnessed, obviously, because her background wasn't the same as his, like
Hmm.
a couple relating to each other more out of love and not,
Yeah.
when you come from a lot of damage, then ain't nobody is safe. You'll cut anybody and everybody off, some
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
Um, because that's the safest thing to do. And so for once, I appreciated her patience with him.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that, but because it also felt like, I mean, it's a good point, but it all, like, it was clear that he was trying.
He was.
Um.
I just mean the big breakup where he acted a fool,
Oh yeah.
the one
Yeah.
main
Yeah. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But she was patient. Like it was like I liked her inner monologue of like, all right, this is what he's doing. What does this mean? Is this
Right.
normal? You know what I mean? And so
Right.
she was being patient and she was kind of like, hey, we talk about things. And like, come on, what's going on? Until he really acted up. She said, hey, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my track shoes on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm scared the bejesus out of him. And then she had some moments like, well, I don't like it. Listen, I think one of the things I would say about her writing, um, which may short circuit some of the like love, hate, so on and so forth. I didn't do my notes in that way, but what I noticed about her writing, I kind of said it's like just right. It's like just the right amount of chemistry, conflict, comedy, sexy times, character
hmm
development, entertaining supporting cast, right? I felt like I got just enough, just the right amount of those things for stories that average 250 pages, maybe a little bit longer. Um, and they were easy reads, right? The highs were just high enough, the lows were just low enough. It wasn't like a major roller coaster like some, like other authors that we enjoy. Um, it put me in the mind a little bit of Ashley Nicole's style, right? But
Yeah.
I would say Ashley Nicole kind of supercharges on the comic relief,
Yep.
um and maybe also on the sex, uh but it was, as I thought about it, not that I would, not that we like routinely kind of, oh, you remind me of this person, but it did remind me of a lot of the things that I enjoy about Ashley Nicole's style of writing, right? Where they are, for the most part, easy, enjoyable, digestible reads, that you can get through depending on how quickly you read, right? We're not talking about days and days. You go into this world, you enjoy it at your time with this couple and in their universe, and then you come on out. It doesn't stay, and it also doesn't stay with you the way some other books that, again, when you're looking for a different experience, those books that kind of like haunt you, right? And kind of stick with you days, weeks later, and you're still thinking about a couple. And we've talked about some of those and how they affect us. So I appreciate just the diversity, of the different styles and the ability to, based on your mood,
hmm
pick what moves you. Right. And when Lizette recommended Kasha Thompson, I was in the mood for something like a Kasha Thompson, um, and just kind of kept that going. So I think in that respect, that's why I didn't necessarily, go through these two stories with my likes, my loves, my hates. Um, what did I want to see more of? I mean, if I could think of anything, it would be, I would love to see if Walt and Merrill, the two best friends, get together, right? Because there was a hint of something there, but they both had great best friends, right? Who were supportive, but also called them on their stuff. So I would have liked to see more of that. But like, this was just a like an easy breezy story for me.
Yeah, I think I agree, and I think the other thing that shined through for me, which is why I feel like she was willing to keep going, was how the more he learned about her and welcomed him into his life and into his home, and then like the different things he would learn about her, and then the special things. He was just a really sweet guy.
Yes.
Even though when it came to
Yes.
like deep emotional conversations, like he just didn't have a band, you know, he ain't had a bandwidth
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
it was like he was getting ready to lose it all. So he had to figure out where to get the bandwidth from.
Yeah.
But I loved how, you know, and even once they started having sex, like, yes, everybody loves a good sex scene, but because they didn't know each other and they were already married, you got the sense that it was like, phew, thank God.
Yeah. 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 And the thoughtfulness, because I think to
Yeah.
your point of him being very sweet, she was also very thoughtful, right?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, the two really beautiful gestures that they did for each other. With Evelyn, it was finding that newspaper clipping, the photo of his mother,
Yep.
uh, and
Yeah.
framing that and giving that to him, which was just such a right. A beautiful moment of her giving him something that he did not have. He no longer had any pictures of his mother. And I think he shared with her, or he definitely shared with the reader, but I think he had also shared with her that he was starting to forget what his mother looked like.
Hmm.
And Evelyn, does some sleuthing and manages to find a photo of his mother and Quincy together with Quincy at an event that they had done together, some type of soup kitchen or something or another type of event, and gave that to him, I
Yep.
think, as one of his Christmas gifts. And just like, you don't have to be a softie to be like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And
Hmm.
then, his really thoughtful, loving gesture to her was recognizing the relationship she had with her mother and wanting to do something but not wanting to cross lines. He told her mother that she had a painting being exhibited at one of
Yes.
the famous museums in Chicago, and brings her mother to see it.
Yes. Without her.
And not only, right, without her, she had no idea. She had no
Hmm.
idea. And then brings her mother and stepfather, like literally goes to get them, to bring them to Evelyn's she had has an exhibit at her gallery, and Quincy, to make sure that her parents are there. The stepfather, I think, would have been there no matter what. It's clear she has a
Yeah.
fantastic relationship with her stepfather, but to make sure that they were there, he drives an hour out of the way to go pick her parents up,
Hmm.
who both of whom it's clear they drive, and
Right.
drive something really nice because the
Right.
stepfather got money, right? So this wasn't a situation where they weren't going to be able to get there without them. He wanted to make sure that they got there to be there because he knew how much that would mean to his wife, right? And we're talking about folks that are still very new to each other. So there was just very sweet, thoughtful, I see you, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I I care about you.
And
I
I know
want to
I'm
pour
noticing
into
what's
you.
important to you.
Yes.
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 Yes. So really, just really enjoyed everything about that. Everything
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah, I did too. And I I I think that's why I will say I was able to take this book as a whole. Like, you know, sometimes I read books and I'm like, I like this part of it.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna keep going back to this part. But I wanted to read the whole thing. And I think I read it twice, or at least I read half of it twice, because there were so many sweet moments to come back to. There were, you know, like even his conversation. Okay, we're gonna have to get into because I'm ready for the hate and the stab in a minute because I got a flashback as I was thinking about this whole book. But anyway, um, you know, it was just really well written and it made me comfortable. You
Yeah.
know, I just
Yeah.
settled in. It was sweet. She wasn't gonna pressure me. She wasn't gonna make me feel bad. And I I feel like which is what made me want to read the rest of her catalog because it
Yep.
was all just the kind of thing that got me into romance in the first place, and it was beautiful.
That's what I mean
Okay.
about an easy read,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What you just described, that I used the language of calling it an easy read. I agree with you. It was comfortable to read, it was enjoyable, and it was just enough, right? Yes, there was conflict, but she didn't
Hmm.
have us dangling, for too long before they got themselves together.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, let's get to the stab because I'm it's him. I love him, but it's also a stab on him. Okay. We don't want to go deep, short blade. Maybe the arm. You know, just a little slice, just a little quick across the
Oh,
arm.
it's been a while since you've talked about
Because
knives and
what's
stabbing
happening
people.
on the inside of you behind texting this girl? Okay, what's that? And I know it was insurance, and I know it was it's hard to let old things go, but you know you ain't want to be with that girl.
It
Right.
was a very now this is interesting because I feel like when you initially read this, you felt that Evelyn overreacted.
I did. Upon second read, I changed my mind.
Okay, okay, good.
So
See,
initially,
this is
you're
why
right.
second
Initially,
reads
I
are
was
important.
like, the text messages weren't that deep. It wasn't
Right,
like he was sending dick pics. You
right.
know, she did the most. And I was actually going to ask you if, I wanted to get into that. But reading it a second time, because, and I think this was your point when I brought it up, was that she didn't know him. She didn't
Right.
have a track record with him to know what this would mean at all. How many other women is
Yes.
in your phone? Like,
Yes.
what is this going to be? Is it short term, long term? Is that your cousin? Like, what is going on? And so, looking when I read it the second time, it was like, okay, because I get it. Because if you don't have any point of reference, my husband has friends that are women, like, you know what I mean? And because it was, I think the other part is that the other girls' messages were much more suggestive than his,
Yes.
but he was still entertaining it.
Exactly. Exactly. He didn't like on the with him saying, but I didn't respond or I didn't encourage her. And it's like, but you did not shut her down. And you were at the age and, a certain level of life experience to understand that in this instance, your silence was encouraging her to continue. Because if you wanted to shut it down, you knew exactly the language it would have taken to do that and the actions that would have very quickly put this to bed, and you chose neither.
Mm-hmm.
And there was not a good reason for that, right? So when Walt was like, you should block her and you're not going to, and he was like, I'm not. And it was just kind of
Yeah.
like, okay,
Big
and Walt
damn
says him like,
dummy.
I told you so. Like I told you not to play this game. And um it just yes, the drama was amped up due to the fact that all of this happens right when they're supposed to be making the decision, but it was a bad move even if it wasn't on the 90th day, right? It was like, bro, what, this is your wife. Like, this is your wife and this is your ex-girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And let's, we're both mindful because we read the story that Evelyn had met Victoria. She was not threatened by her when she met her. If anything, it was the other way around. Like Victoria definitely had feelings about seeing Evelyn and so on. And Evelyn was easy breezy. She's like, oh, cool, yeah, whatever. Like it is
Right.
what it is, right? And here, you contrast that with Quincy getting all bent out of shape when he found out that Evelyn had been married before as like an 18-year-old. And it was like, bruh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like,
That was
okay,
a
happened.
surprise for sure.
But it was like when she was
Yeah.
18, like,
Yeah.
let's not act like she just got divorced 30 days before she
No,
signed
that's
up
real.
for this show, right? So it's like I contrast that reaction with allowing Victoria to continue to text him and text him and text him instead of shutting her down. And it was like, huh, huh,
Yeah.
this is not computing, right? Like you can't have it both ways. You're trying to have it both ways and you can't. So I got it, right? I got her being upset and I got him. It was almost like because Quincy goes through a lot, right? When he's trying to get to her on the
Mm-hmm.
90th day and they're both at the studio and they've been, sequestered from each other and they gotta he's trying to talk to her because she's like, I choose,
Yeah.
and he's trying to get to her and the
Let me
staff
fall. Do something at the door.
yes, he gets tackled by security because the coach who's like depicted as like the size of the rock,
Uh-huh.
right? He's like, are you threatening me,
Yes.
Quincy? And he's like, no, I'm not threatening you, but like security gonna tackle the poor man to the ground because he's just trying. He's like, give me back my phone, give me my phone.
Yes. It was very dramatic, but I loved all of it.
It really was. Like I said, she didn't leave us hanging for too long because they resolve it quickly.
Yes.
Them being kept apart while he is falling apart trying to fix the mess that he made was, it provided a bit of comic relief while you were all oh,
Yeah.
you poor baby, but you big dummy because you did this to yourself.
Big damn dummy. Do you think they'll be together forever?
I think so.
Hmm.
I think so because I think the irony was that for two people who well, for Quincy, right? Because Quincy was the one that went into it as a joke, right? He signs up for it when his friend signs up for it. He is surprised when he gets selected. He can't believe he makes it this far. And he's just like, huh? They really think they've managed to pick my soulmate. Well, let's see. She was more open minded about it. And so I think that the irony that they absolutely did pick the right woman for him, the best woman for him. And certainly by the end, he has embraced that fully about her and committed to protecting that. And she embraced that about him and was committed to protecting it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what was my question? So I agree. I think they'll be together forever. I think so. It reminds me of like arranged marriages in other cultures.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, some American cultures too, like if evangelical Christian cultures and like some fundamentalists, there's arranged marriages too. But like I'm specifically thinking of this documentary called Meet the Patels, Patel, and it's about this a South Asian or Indian filmmaker who was making this documentary about his parents ragging on him to find a wife and what the Indian culture is
Mm-hmm.
around dating and
Mm-hmm.
like arranged marriages. And there are whole like conferences and conventions and matchmakers, and you do like
Mm.
this profile that has your picture, your family lineage, all like a literal dating profile. But it's like at the time of the documentary, which is 7 years ago, it's on a sheet of paper and it's in a big binder. It was like crazy. And at the time he had broken up with his girlfriend who was of a different culture, and he was because he always envisioned himself marrying someone in his culture, and so they were on a break. It was hurting him, hurting her, but he was just trying to be honest about it, if I'm remembering things correctly. And at the end he ends up back with her, but in real life not for long, because he eventually meets a woman in his culture and they fall in love. But his parents talked about how, of course, they didn't know each other. They were from two different villages. It had been arranged, and what the process was for them learning each other, getting to know each other, and falling in love even after they've already made this huge commitment. And some of my friends, one of them who describes herself as violently single,
Oh, oh, okay. Hmm.
she says like, I wish somebody would know the things about me and know the things about him, and could verify all of it and would just set me up. Like, I'll do the work after the fact. But
Mm.
the finding of it, right? The dating apps and the going through it, all of the stuff that people go through, the first dates, and she wants to skip to the good part, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of what they did. I mean, I love that she did it in the context of the TLC shows, or similar thing. And kind of as a writer, it gives you a shortcut to why they won't break up.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because if
Mm-hmm.
they have the constraint of the show, presumably there's money involved. Presumably, they have we because it gets mentioned as he starts to ditch the camera crew, sign contracts.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And so you kind of have locked this couple into a reason that they must figure it out, at least for the first 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What if anything surprised you?
A surprise in a good way. Again, like I said, how much I enjoyed it. I was also pleasantly surprised. Quincy, for as much as Quincy held things back, we as the reader saw that Quincy like freely admits that he says something to her like, um, "There will be tears, mostly from me."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we see him get emotional more than once, which I can always appreciate. And I also like that they were not that his profession as a lawyer is all that different. I think we've read about lawyers before. I like that she was an artist. I like that she had a gallery that was successful, right? And even I could visualize some of the pieces, although clearly what I visualize maybe not anywhere near what the author visualized, but I enjoyed that. So those were nice little surprises. Um, I I thought that the way she handled Victoria was also a nice surprise in that it could have been it wouldn't have been crazy for us to see Evelyn looking at Victoria and now doing a comparison is like, well, wait a minute, she had 4 years, he gave her 4 years, and what happened? And she's a lawyer too, and clearly that's the type of profession, or woman that he likes, and so on and so on. And she was not in any way, shape, or form, right, phased by that at all. But I think, on a not a negative, but one of the things that surprised me in a non-positive way with Evelyn, for example, was her reaction over the living situation. I was like, girl, you can't be this dense, right? You can't
Right.
really think. You can't
Right.
really
Right. Right.
think, because Evelyn's living situation when they come together is that she is basically apartment sitting. Uh, a friend with whom she had been sexual umpteen years ago, but still someone that has seen her lady parts and been inside her. And she behaved, meanwhile, Quincy owned his home. And she behaved as if he was being unreasonable by coming down on the position of, well, clearly we will live in my house rather than in this
Right.
apartment
Right.
that
Right. Right.
belongs to your friend who you
Yeah.
fucked. Like, hello. And she kind of acted like he was being unreasonable. And I was like, Evelyn, you, from what we've seen of you, you are not this dense. So why are you acting this way? Like, huh?
Right. Yeah,
Um,
no, you're right.
yeah, that was the one time that I kind of side eyed her, right? Like, Quincy got a couple of side eyes, but that was the one time where I side eyed Evelyn hard, like, girl, I'm not gonna be able to, I'm not gonna be able to ride with you on this one
Right. No, that's real.
because you're tripping.
For sure. I think the thing that surprised me was, or I don't know if surprise is right, like you said, I just thought it was super cute. I loved like her coming home too late from the gallery and him
Mm-hmm,
being like,
mm-hmm,
I told you to text me,
mm-hmm,
I'll walk with. I
mm-hmm.
was just like, oh,
Yeah.
and the whole thing of it coming out, I think at her grand opening or something that her mom had gone to see her exhibit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Those were two moments that really stuck out for me and that I was like, oh my God, this is so sweet.
And to piggyback off of the space that she would go to, right? That go into her gallery,
Yes.
that one of her Christmas or birthday gifts, it might have been her birthday gift. The man leases her uh space in a building. The way the space is described, it's like perfect for her to
Yes.
create art in, walking distance from their house for like the next 6 months,
Right.
right? Space that she could have never afforded on her own, but it's absolutely perfect for her.
Hmm.
That was another one of those, oh,
Yes.
sweet moments. He thought, like, he like showed that from very early on, right? Again, they were listening to each other, they were paying attention to each other, they were filing those things away, and making those thoughtful, meaningful gestures
Hmm.
for them, right? Not for any woman, not for any man, but it was specific and
Yes.
tailored to Evelyn and Quincy. Which,
No, I agree.
don't we all want that? Like, we all want that. I just
Hmm.
saw one of, I forget which book group posted it. It might have been Lisa Whitehead. Shout out to Lisa. I think Vaughn, she's still parading as Vaughn because she might still be in jail, Facebook jail. We free Lisa, free
Oh
Lisa.
Lord.
But it was a video, a stitch where it was a woman talking, giving advice to men, and she was like, do these things and your woman will love you forever.
Hmm.
And some of the suggestions was, give her flowers once a month, um uh warm her towel for her and have it waiting for her when she's getting out the shower. Put I love you on a post-it note and put it somewhere where she can see it
Hmm.
randomly. And so the stitch was a guy asking his followers whether or not, specifically his women followers, whether or not they agree with it. And of course, there was a variety of opinions. I think that there was like maybe 1,500 comments or whatever. But the point was, like, her point was, these small, thoughtful gestures mean the world to
Yeah.
women. And I think, I agreed with a couple of comments that said, no, thoughtful gestures mean the world to men and women,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And maybe if flowers are not your thing, because of course with people, I don't like flowers and I don't, fine. It's someone paying enough attention to you to do things that are thoughtful for you, means the world, is going to mean the world to you. And for some people, that is getting their coffee just right. For some people, it's getting flowers. For some people, it's taking their car to the car wash. Like, the point is the person paying attention to you and doing things that they know
Yep.
will resonate with you means the world, right? Because they have taken the time to do that work and to pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep, yep,
that's the
yep.
point, right?
It
Whether
is.
it's a grand gesture or not, that's the point more than anything.
Yeah. Um, I'm reminded just because I recently read it. The sweetest thing I've known,
Mhm.
Ashley
Mhm.
Nicole's latest, and
Mhm.
just the sweet things that he did for her that just was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
know
Yes.
I love stuff like that. I love for the guys to be nice. I love for them to be sweet and nice. It's my favorite thing.
And I think
um
also one of the things that you point out in other stories, right, is that it doesn't, or have maybe have said in other contexts, is that going back to this, like, they don't have to be the billionaire, right? It
mhm.
doesn't have to be the helicopter trip over the city, right? And dinner at the top of the Eiffel Tower. All those things sound wonderful and romantic, but we can appreciate these other gestures that may be on a much smaller scale,
Yeah.
sometimes a lot more practical. But again, it said that I thought about you, and I
Yeah.
thought this would make you happy. I thought this would bring a smile to your face. You enjoy this, and I want to bring enjoyment and joy and happiness and a smile to your life, so
Yep.
I did these things.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Period.
And like I want that for everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
want that even for people who aren't coupled. So to see it, it's romance, and so the point is that it's for whoever you're attracted to, but it's such a good feeling. It's something I love to see it happen to other people. So
Yeah.
when I'm
Yeah.
on social media and the girls, as long as he's not apologizing, they get to the hotel and it's full of flowers and the most
Hmm.
beautiful, or the cute proposal. I just love all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love for people to be loved on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen.
I think we've done a little bit of favorite, least favorite, well, favorite moments. Do you have any least favorite?
Her mother,
Yeah, that
right?
was a
The
lot.
interactions with her mother, the scene at Thanksgiving, because it was just like, and to Quincy's credit again, right? Like, even though newer to the family, just knowing how to diffuse things.
Yeah.
Because the mother does it at the wedding reception, and he's like, oh, this is interesting. And then he sees it again on Thanksgiving, and he's like, huh, okay. And listen, if he had just decided, okay, so mama's kind of sort of public enemy number one, but I got to be diplomatic about it. But he chose to engage in the right way, right? And that is not easy to navigate, right? Because of those complicated feelings and recognizing that this person is family to your now family member, wife, husband. But they're not treating them right, and the person, your spouse, is not going to cut them off, and you don't necessarily want them to cut them off, but you're not sure if there's a pathway to healing and mending the relationship. And so I think him choosing to do that anyway, because her mother, like, I would have been like, let's just go no contact.
For sure.
Let's just cut the cancer out. Mother is a cancer, okay? Cut the
Right.
cancer out, because she just and would choose to do it in like very public ways. So her mother was like the one, aside from Victoria, where I was just like, villain, go away, someone drop her off the side of the bridge, please. Because she was just like, it was worse than Victoria, right? Because like Victoria as an ex you can understand, but Evelyn's mother being an enemy was just like, come on now. And again, going back to Kasha, I think it's like just enough, because
Mhm.
her mother and all of that didn't overshadow them having fun at the wedding, right? And starting this adventure.
Yeah.
Didn't let her overshadow Thanksgiving, and she didn't overshadow the story. And ultimately, I thought the way that it was done, I don't think we were left with, oh, everything's fixed, everything's mended,
Yeah.
but it was a big step in the right direction that she had gone to see the exhibit, allowed Quincy to take her, and then came with him to Evelyn's gallery event to see it for herself, right? But even like their exchange exchange at the event was still awkward, right? So
Yeah.
I appreciated that Kasha wasn't trying to do the and see everything's been healed, everything's fixed, but it
Right.
was just
Right.
enough. It was just
Yeah.
enough.
Oh, what's my name? Oh, okay. Who did you want to get their own book?
I not so much another their own book, but since we were given hints that there was an attraction between Walt and Meryl,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there was a breadcrumb left that maybe something happened. Um, would have loved leave it. Look, even if it was a novella, right? Just tell me what happened, right? Tell me are they because they seem to be like unlikely but likely um unlikely but possibly likely pairing, similar to Evelyn and Quincy, right? That like there were some things on the surface we'd be like, no, not really. But then some other things was like, well, I mean, they're both kind of quirky. They like
Yeah.
different things. They like what they like, um and comfortable in their skin about that. So that left me wondering, and I was like, oh, that would be kind of cute. I'd like to know more about that. Like Walt is a man after my own heart, still dressing up in cosplay, right? Well into
Yes.
his 30s. I'm like, that's right, Walt. Be yourself.
Be
Be
you.
yourself.
To be
Be
cringe is to be
you.
free.
That's right. That's right. But that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay. I thought that would be cute too. I agree. And so instead of asking though what we usually ask, which is how did you feel about the updates? I'm gonna ask, do you want an update?
I wouldn't mind an update to, check in on them, see how they're doing. Like again, if we got an update in the context of a novella about Walt and Meryl and we see Quincy, and Evelyn celebrating whatever anniversary or coming up on whatever anniversary,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if there's a baby in the picture, because they both said they wanted children.
Yeah.
Um, and Totes my goats, right? The
Yes.
dog. Totes my goats, right? Did they get Totes a companion, right? And
Right.
and um, that would be a cute little check-in, I
Yeah.
think.
I want another book because I think it would be interesting to see what happened if she got pregnant on their honeymoon. And
Mm,
so then
hmm
not only
hmm
did you have this constraint and you were like trapped to this thing for 90 days and you decide to keep going, but now surprise, right, before you even thought it was going to be a good time, here come a baby. And kind of watch how do you get to know somebody that, and they have one night stand books and you come up with a baby and you got to figure it out. Like, I think that would be cute.
Yeah, yeah. And now
Um,
also navigating but also I think to that navigating the chapter of parents, because that just
yep,
unlocks
yep.
another facet of the relationship and how your philosophy about child rearing based on, right? You
Mm-hmm.
might have been the one that said to me, right, like people, the parenting for people is like either repeating or rejecting their own childhood or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving you credit when it wasn't
I
you,
don't
it was
think I
somebody
said
else.
that, but it
but
sounds
but
good.
it's just right, like you're either trying to continue, right, replicate what your parents did
Yeah,
with you, or you are trying to do differently from what your parents did with you, right? So the things that you like, you're like, I like that. I'm going to do that with my child. Maybe I'll take it to the next level. The things that you didn't like, you're like, I'm not going to do that to my child because I did not like that. And I did not like how I felt about that.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's like ultimately your parenting is driven by your own childhood, for better or worse.
Right. I agree. Yeah, so I think that would be interesting. Are you ready to shift to defensive stance?
Yep. Yep.
All right. Defensive stance is Sloane and Dion's love story. She is a bottle girl. That might not be true. What's the
She is. She is.
okay?
Hmm.
Because she said I wasn't something else. Like I wasn't a stripper or something. Because he
Yeah. She was. Yeah. She's
okay
a hostess. She's a
host, yeah,
hostess because
something like
she's,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So she and they're he's in the club. He's a basketball player, professional basketball player, having a bit of a rocky time with his game and with the team. And he and some friends go out and he sees her. They end up having a one night stand and it is good to him.
Well, no, wait a minute. Hold on. Remember,
Anger
they
management,
meet at anger management.
anger management, and then they see each other again. Thank you.
Yes.
And then they
Yes.
see each other again at the club. But yes,
Yes.
they meet in anger
Yes.
management because she. Wait a minute. What did she
Because
do?
she, what do you mean?
What did she
Oh,
do to get put in?
she had rammed into her ex slash parole officer's car after finding out that he
Yes.
was married and he had been lying to her.
Lord have mercy, Sloan. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. My mind is on, I'm because I love her backstory. So I was having a hard time remembering the beginning because I was thinking about the end. And he fought somebody. Wasn't it
He
like,
gets into it. Yeah, he got into a fight
yeah,
during a game. He got into a
yeah.
fight, and he has a reputation for being a hothead. But
Hmm.
he did the infamous Ron Artest for
Yes.
basketball fans.
Meta
Ron
World
Artest, also
Peace.
St. John's affiliated Red Storm, now known as Meta World Peace, when he was on the Indiana Pacers and they played the Detroit Pistons, and Pistons fans threw a drink at him, and he and Steven Jackson and Jermaine O'Neal, well, Steven Jackson went into the stands with him. So they, she borrowed, I think, from that incident where Dion now finds himself having to go to anger management as well as pay a fine, and he's suspended several games.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so they see each other again at the club, and there's a one night stand, and it's oh so good. I loved her backstory because it put me in the mind of Annie Up.
Yeah, I could see that. Mm-hmm.
And her so
Annie
her
up by Christina C.
Dr.
Jones.
Christina C.
Mm-hmm.
Jones, mainly so her backstory is that she comes from a con artist.
Yep.
And so her dad is a card sharp, but I don't know how sharp.
Yeah, yeah.
And definitely a gambling addiction. And the whole idea was to con, to scam, to get away with, whether it had to do with the actual playing of casino games or any other kind of grift or whatever. And I think she has four brothers.
Two.
Two brothers. I thought she talked about being having five. I don't know. But she has two brothers, and they are in the family business. And so her dad is like a hanger on. And so it's clear that he reaches out to her when he's in a jam. So she is his
Yeah.
first responder.
Yeah.
And then once he finds out that she's in a relationship with a rich person, then he really does his best to try to make something happen for himself and nobody else. So they have this wonderful night. He doesn't want her to leave. And two things happen. She runs into his brother, who's a very free spirit. I'm thinking about Rainbow's brother on Blackish. And he was also in he's a character actor too. He was
David
also in
Diggs. Yeah,
yes.
David Diggs. Mm-hmm.
So he's a free spirit. He lives rent free in the pool house or whatever the case may be. And
Mm-hmm.
she also runs into his daughter, who is a 20-something college girl trying to make her way
Yes,
in this
because
world.
Dion had her as a teenager.
Yes, because he
Mm-hmm.
had her as a teenager. And so very quickly, Sloane becomes wrapped up in Dion's cast of characters. Sloane
Mm-hmm.
also has a son that she shares with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's 11, something like that.
10, yeah, around thereabouts.
Yeah, oh yeah, because he has a birthday. And that's her pride and joy. She has shared custody with her former partner, whoever that was, and she's she has a really sweet relationship with her son. And I think the shared custody works because then she has time to spend days and days as Dion's bedmate and
Yes.
then go back and get her baby.
Yes.
So he has such a good time with her. And after being with her, he has a good game and he just feels better about himself. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to keep her around. And so he wants to pay her to kind of just be first, his bedmate for sure, but also his good luck charm in general. So they enter into this arrangement, and actually before that happens though, as he's still trying to figure out who she is, he accuses her of stealing his car when in fact she actually just went to go and save his daughter who had been stranded
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, in a foolish sounding very new adult thing to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the early days, and so he accuses her of being a thief and she doesn't like it, whatever, but he ends up coming to her house making this proposition for $50,000, I want to say, and he gives her 25,000 up front, and with 25,000 at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Her son runs into him and is like, oh my god. So I could even see a little boy coming into his living room and being like, why what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, why are you here? So that was a really
Mm-hmm.
descriptive scene for me that I appreciated. So they enter into the arrangement, and so when she's at his house, and they love having sex with each other. They're very creative.
Yes.
But they also develop into he before her or she starts to catch feelings. And
Yes.
so he some of it he shares with her almost like jokingly, or she thinks he's joking, and she's kind of like, why would you say that? She's ready to move on from it, but he low key means it.
Yes.
And so he starts to feel things for her, but and she starts to feel things for him as well.
Yes. Yes.
But she is trying to remind herself that good things don't happen to people like her.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so they do this arrangement, and um things do get better for him. He ends up taking her places, and kind of because the other thing is he talks to his agent, or yeah, or manager or something, about improving his image. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's that he wants the bet made, but it's also that he wants to do this image thing, and he want to benefit from it two ways
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
And so he starts to take her places, and she shows up as his girlfriend. And
Mm-hmm.
there are times where she sticks up for him when he wouldn't stick up for himself, or, they're doing different things that he wouldn't do, or it just becomes very cute. The pretend becomes real.
Yep. Yep.
And so at one point when the pretend is real, they get a call from her dad, that he's in the process of getting his ass beat for the gambling debt or something. And he ends up paying the money. That's when her father finds out that she's tangled up with him. And the father ends up going to a tabloid and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
doing a few things that make life complicated for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this question of things might be working out for him. And then he starts to have conversations about getting traded, and that scares her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she was slowly letting him in, and as it was happening, she was falling hard. And so the idea that he could be done with this and could just move on and leave her makes her pull back. Um, so she ends up breaking things off, but something happens too. I'm not sure. We'll come to it as we talk about it. But she ends up breaking things off and saying, we never should have done this anyway. We knew what it was, whatever. Um, and then they have a breakup period where everybody is sad.
Yeah.
And then they get back together. But I thought that was like another piece of conflict around her storming out. I can't
Um,
remember.
because we covered the Destiny situation, and the father going to tabloid was a bit of a blip. I don't huh.
I don't remember, but as we talk about it, I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. What did you love? Or what were your impressions?
I mean, I thoroughly look. I love that they met each other at anger
Me
management, because it
too.
was like whatever judgment you have, hello, you're in the same place as me. And there is a moment of that, right, where I think he tries to get smart with her, and she's like, I'm not the one that jumped into the stands, right, and tried to attack somebody for
Mm-hmm.
throwing a drink on me. I liked how they connected. I liked Dion's ability to be vulnerable with her, like very,
Yeah.
very early. Like she unknowingly was a safe space for him, right? Because Sloan was not trying to, in the very beginning, be a safe space for Dion, but he naturally identifies that in her just by her being herself, right? He sees that she will tell him the truth. And so when she speaks words of life to him, he believes them, because he has already seen that she's not the type to sit there and blow smoke up your ass, right? Like
Yeah.
even when she gets a little dramatic in some of her in some of her like affirmations, is one where she's
Mm-hmm.
like, "You're a unicorn with a big throbbing horn." He's like, "All right now," right? But they
I am
both
helping.
knew,
I don't know why you don't
right?
like it.
Exactly. They both knew that she was, giving a little comic relief, but because
Mm-hmm.
she is a straight shooter,
Yeah.
when she speaks words of life to him, he knows that he can believe it,
Mm-hmm.
because she doesn't say things that she doesn't mean.
Right.
Right. And I think that he immediately respects that, because she has gone to the school of hard knocks. It becomes clear to him very early on that life ain't been no crystal stair for her, and she has had to figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
And, shout out to people who have always had to parent the parents. parents,
Yes.
right? Because that has been Sloane's story. Sloane has always had to be the adult because the father, like you said, was just he's just been an F up the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And her brothers are themselves quite shaky. I think when we meet Sloane, one brother's in jail for like passing bad checks or something or another,
Yes,
and the
child.
other one is probably on his way. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so and she realizes because she had this son, she must give him better than what she had. She is determined and committed to give him better and more stability than she had. So I just liked how he was able to be vulnerable with her, and he was also giving her that soft exposure to a soft life that she desperately um desperately that she absolutely deserved
Mm-hmm.
and didn't realize how much she needed that because she was just used to relying only on herself, right? And this notion of being with someone, again, going back to, like we said, with sight unseen, some of those thoughtful gestures, right?
Mm-hmm.
um Making sure that she's squared away, and thinking of her. She hadn't had anyone do that for her before,
Right.
and there are times, at least once in the book, where Dion reflects to himself that he has given Sloane some money for something or another, and he knows that she has likely pocketed most of the money rather than spend it on whatever, he told her to splurge, treat herself, because that's who Sloane is, right?
Yep.
Sloane is like, oh no, these dollars can stretch. I'm not wasting this on clothing. I'm not wasting this on footwear.
Yes.
Um, and so it was things like that where you are rooting for both of these people. And I think that's what I love, that I rooted for both of them. I wanted to see Sloane, have better for her and for Ace. And I wanted Dion also to have better, right? Because we know that Dion is mourning his father who had passed away, in the last year due to
Yeah.
COVID. And his father was a larger than life figure. His father was a Hall of Fame basketball player. And he is struggling with the grief. So that has exacerbated a pre-existing temper issue,
Yeah.
right? Which he previously was able to kind of keep in check to a great extent. But after the death of his father, it's like the lid has come off completely. And he had also lost his zest for the game.
Yep.
And part of what Sloane brings to him, in addition to a safe space, is she reintroduces him to what made him fall in love with basketball in the first place, right? Because remember, she takes him to like a playground
Yes.
in a Vegas suburb, and
Yes.
she's like, "Go play, just go play for the love of it." And
Mm-hmm.
that, along with her, that experience and the fact that she was the one that facilitated that experience, just unlocked things in him that he didn't either had forgotten about or wasn't even sure existed, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why you see him kind of looking at her as his lucky charm, so to speak, which makes her nervous. But really, it was less about the luck and more about, you have brought things out in me that either have been dormant for a really long time, or maybe I never even knew they existed, and I
Yes.
don't want to let that go, right? And
Right.
that is precious when you encounter someone that can do that for you, be it romantic or in a friendship or even a professional interaction, right? When you intersect with people that bring things out in you that either have been laying dormant for a long time or
Mm-hmm.
you didn't even know that you had in you, that those are precious moments, and incredibly valuable experiences, because I think most people don't have them.
No, that's true. And to go back what you were saying about him being so open about it, I feel like that moved the story along, and it made the story less about um let me see if I can find the right words. Sometimes the story is about how long it takes them to figure out how they feel about each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they know how they feel about each other, but other things are in the way. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's lopsided. One is sure, the other one is not. And this is a situation where one was sure, but the other was not. But because there were so many other things going on, I feel like the story would have been muddled if they were both ambivalent about how they felt, and he needed her for this image thing and her family or son. You know what I mean? It
I
would
can
have
see
been
that.
because to do the ambivalent thing all while helping the person, all while feeling good about the person, is kind of like it jerks you in two directions.
Yeah.
So because there was no ambivalence for him, and we knew that he was going to keep trying and keep showing her how he felt and keep enjoying her, and where she was ambivalent, but her feelings for her would get the best of her. She would be trying not to feel it. And then,
Yeah, because I thought Sloane was less ambivalent and more of just denial as a
yeah, that's a
defense
better way.
mechanism,
That's a better way.
right? Right. Like she was trying to fight the feelings because she was like, this is not going to last. When the season is over, he's going to go back to his life. I'm going to go back to my life.
Yeah.
And I loved, so going back to the brother Raphael, right?
Hmm.
I loved Raphael because the way that Kasha positioned him, because yes, he was like the flighty flower child, flaky, done been through 50, 11 businesses and ain't not nan one of them stuck until they finally get
Hmm.
to the dispensary, right? And it's Sloane that actually turns to them as like, hello, this is
Right.
a viable, thriving business. Do something with it. But it is Raphael that both I think it's Dion, right, that initially credits him and says he has a way of like looking into your soul,
Yeah.
right? And he has a moment with Sloane and he has a moment with Dion, right, where he kind of calls each of them on their stuff very early on because he's like to Sloane, he like tests her when they first meet, right? And he's like, okay, you passed the test. I want to make sure. He's like, because my brother can, tracks hanger-ons and gold
Yeah.
diggers and so on and so forth. And I see that you're not like that. You're cool with me. But he calls Dion on his self-centeredness, which
Yes.
in fairness to Dion, and you know what, I guess we got to give Kasha Thompson the credit for the way that this was positioned, because until Raphael said it, I didn't necessarily think it was self-centeredness either, right? Because
Mm.
when we're in Dion's head, Dion is not being ambivalent about how he feels for her, right? And
Right.
so it is coming from this good place, right? This positive place of he cares about her. He sees a future with her. He wants to be with her. And
Hmm.
Raphael is like, you're doing the same thing that dad used to do. You never thought about
Yes.
how she is looking at this situation. You have simply assumed that because you got it all figured out and you have decided this can and should work, that she's going to immediately fall in line. And meanwhile, she is figuring you have leveraged her as your good luck charm for the season. And when the season is done,
Right.
that's it. And or if you are planning to go, you have not really given thought to the fact that she is a parent, and
Right.
picking up and moving her child someplace else is not necessarily her going to be her first option, no matter how
Hmm.
much financial security that you can provide to her. And it's like, it's clear that until Raphael confronts him in that way, it never even occurred to Dion,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
that he was doing the I. And so
Right.
I appreciate that the way that Kasha wrote it out, it didn't initially present that way to me either until Raphael said, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's because it's easy to be like, well, he has the resources and she's
Right.
been
Right.
struggling and he just wants to swoop in and take care of it. And it's not to control and it's not to, it's with the best of intentions, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So
Hmm.
I appreciated that. And I love that it came from Raphael, who otherwise was like, getting high and eating all the food and frying the chicken. And so
Right.
it was he had those insightful moments where he like popped in with something like the key and then popped back out.
Lord have mercy, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so let me see, go back. What did you hate? Did you have anything that you hated?
I mean, I hated the dynamic with her father, right? Because that going back to like just enough, just enough, just enough, right? I felt like Kasha gave us just enough to understand how weary that can make someone. Um, how the exhaustion that comes from having to be the one productive, responsible citizen in the family.
Yeah.
And look, that was driven primarily by the fact that once she became a mother, she was like, I got to do better, right? But
Mm-hmm.
this having to worry about his physical safety, and then once she gets close to Dion, feeling protective of Dion because she knows that her father will try to exploit the situation, which he does, right? And to
Mm-hmm.
Dion's credit, he wasn't overly bothered, right, by what happened. But this is fiction, but I'm sure folks that are
Yeah.
navigating, right? Maybe it's not as dramatic as the father's a con artist and grifter or whatever, but like folks who've been parenting, and it's not going to end until their parent gets their wings,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, Flipping the parent child dynamic completely on its head. And this burden, and when you also now have a child, right, someone
Right.
who is legitimately entitled to be that dependent on you, but you're also having to mother
Yeah.
a grown man, senior citizen, you know so I hated that.
Yeah. I have a question. Did you understand or did you let me say it this way. Did you ever get tired of her not believing him? Or when he would say, "Oh, I actually meant that. I do care about you," or whatever he would say. Was any part of you like, "Girl, believe him."
Yeah,
Like why is it taking you so, why is it taking you so long?
at a certain point, yeah. And I think that's why I appreciated the Raphael conversation even more, because it wasn't until that conversation that I realized that Dion was not being as clear as he thought he was being.
Mhm.
And it was clear to me as the reader because we were sitting in his head,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we were privy to his inner thoughts and his reflections, which showed us how much he meant those things, right? And how much she had come to mean to him, and that he was falling in love with her. But, while he was being very sweet, very generous, very affectionate, respectful, all of those things, she was not she wasn't the beneficiary of his inner thoughts, right? So all
Right.
she had his actions and she had his words, and it just made me realize that he was not being as clear as he thought he was. But I didn't realize that, like I said, until the Raphael conversation, and I was like, and then I had to give her more grace, because on the one hand, I understood she was filtering it through her baggage, but I was getting frustrated initially because I'm like, girl, how many other ways can he say it? And then it was like, well, wait, actually, he could be more clear.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think I I think it was so well written, and I was so much of his friend that I almost didn't want to see the reason for her
Mm,
struggle.
mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm,
he was
mm-hmm.
so charming and he was so
Yes.
sweet and he was so into her that I didn't put myself in her shoes until like you're saying, that conversation.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh yeah, okay, that would be irritating.
Right. Right. Because for him, it was a foregone conclusion, right? That whatever they had would continue, even if he didn't stay in Las Vegas. Like, he didn't
Yeah.
have there was no question about that in his mind, that could work. And he was like, oh, Ace can just come with it. Like, obviously Ace will come with us. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he got a daddy.
Yeah, it's not that simple. And the fact that he was a parent, but you know, that just wasn't resonating for him,
Yeah.
right? Because he was just kind of like, no, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of her. I'll take care of them. I'll take care of it. So there should be no concern. She should know that. And, Raphael's point was like, again, you're just focusing on, your intentions and, from your perspective, and you are not putting yourself in her shoes. Why would someone who has always had to rely on themselves
Right.
suddenly, in a
Right.
matter of months, right,
Right.
set aside all the way that they have conducted themselves their entire lives, and
Mhm.
set that aside in a matter of months because you swoop in, on the white horse talking about, oh no, I got it. Like, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
I want to be with you, and that's it. That's all you
Right.
need to know.
No, I agree. Back to the questions. Back to the questions. Anybody need to be stabbed? I mean, the father. Was there anybody else?
Clearly, you know, his mother didn't need to be stabbed, but she definitely needed to be checked. And, that's tough, right? Because the mother was clearly still mourning the father. And again, going back to the just enough, right? Like we got just enough exposure to the mother. It was like, well, if this relationship continues, that's going to be a problem,
Yeah.
obviously. But it wasn't overdone where I was like, all right, somebody needs to put mama in a nursing
Right.
home because she getting on my nerves. But that one experience was enough to be like, good thing they're in Vegas and she's in Texas.
This is true.
Right. And
Favorite
then the
moment?
friend,
Yeah, go ahead.
what was his child? What was his name? With Chipmunk.
Oh
Chipmunk,
yeah.
right? Who but I like that Dion handled that immediately, and it was one of those hanger on friend, get
Yeah.
beside himself. And Sloan was like, oh, no, sir. Oh, no, 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 no. But he needed to be cut off, not just stabbed. He just needed to be cut off um, from the crew, which, Dion knew and to a certain extent, I think agreed with, but was like, but he's been around, forever, my friend. But yes, gets drunk, can't handle his liquor, disrespectful, all those things.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite or least favorite moments?
I think the favorite moments were, their cute moments together, and I liked that. There's a moment where Kasha Thompson lets us know that they used anal beads on
Mm-hmm.
Dion, but it's done in such a way where it's like almost like an aside, right? He's like,
Mm-hmm.
I think
And
it's
I think he
him.
wanted to jerk him off with her feet. So he did.
Yeah, like she kind of like positions as like, Dion's reflecting himself that like he appreciates the Sloan, experiments with him and doesn't, she's easy breezy about it all. They've tried a number of different things, and he's like, including using anal beads on me this morning. And I was like, wow, okay, all right. I like how she just threw that in there.
I thought that was interesting too. Because I don't know how much of Black romance like does that with the
Exactly.
guy being the
Exactly.
adventurous one.
I
Um,
have not seen I've seen, erotica, right,
yeah.
where maybe they veer into that, but not in this kind of context. No. So I
Yep.
was like, well, all right, okay then. Oh, you know who else needed to be stabbed? The owner. The owner of
Yes.
the Ramblers,
Yes.
right? But Sloan
Yes.
Sloan cussed him out so good
Uh-huh.
that it was like, ooh, yes. And they probably had the hottest sex right after that,
Right.
right? And
Right.
spoiler alert, because maybe it's not a spoiler alert, because is it at the end of Defensive Stance that she gives a preview of the next installment? The owner dies, so he done got his wings.
Well,
Uh,
good. When
or
is the
or
third one
or
coming out? Do we know
or
yet?
Pitchfork.
Yeah.
There's not a release date.
Okay.
But what we know from that preview is that it's the daughter of the Ramblers owner,
Oh,
and so I would imagine we will probably get an update on Dion and Sloan because he resigns with the Ramblers, and the daughter takes over the team, I think. So
okay.
yeah,
Cute, cute. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, me too, me too. I'm like, when is that coming out?
Yeah, that's super
There's
cute.
no release date.
Okay. I will be on the lookout because she is I like her writing style. I'm trying to remember holding back the years. Oh, I remember that one. Yeah. Oh, and figure of speech was the president one. Yeah.
Yep, figure of speech was the president one, right? And working through it was the church. The exes that are working together in the church.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Like I really enjoy her writing style, and it was easy to get through her catalog. Like
Hmm.
it was enjoyable. It wasn't a ton of like emotional labor where she's, slapping you around. You're like, I need
Hmm.
a break from this.
Right.
It's too
Right.
much. Right. Which sometimes you're in the mood for that. Sometimes you are in the mood to be smacked around by a book or,
Hmm.
taken on extreme highs and extreme lows. So
Yeah. Do. Who did you want anybody else to get their own book or who did you want to update from?
So not so much an update, but we get told, and I'm forgetting the team member's name and his wife, but the one who was the hoe, who, cheated on her while they were boyfriend, girlfriend, married her, gave her a child, and continued to cheat on her. And she knows it and he knows it, but she's like, but at least I have the ring.
Right.
Wouldn't mind seeing I forget the A House book where she kind of does that.
Polo. Is that Polo's
Yes,
book?
yes, Polo and Kendra.
Yep.
Right. Wouldn't mind, because I thought that the way that A House handled that was delicious,
It
and I
was.
still managed to be okay with
Yep.
them being together because she got the ultimate get back. So it's just interesting, right, that we're presented with this couple, and like he cheats, basically cheats in peace, and it is what it is, and you just kind of wonder how that will ultimately play out. I was a little curious about Raphael and whether he encounters someone who rocks his world or whatever, but not to the point where I'm like, I need a book on Raphael. So I'm
Yeah.
very interested to see, because we know the next book will be about the owner's daughter. I am wondering who is the male protagonist for that. I'm wondering if it might be the coach.
Mm,
Um because I don't know if we got an indication one way or the other that if the coach's relationship status. We just know that, right, he's a black man. I think a younger black man. He and Dion are friends, not just coach and player.
yeah,
So I wonder if he might be the male protagonist. But yeah, other than that, we know the father's going to continue being an ass.
for sure.
And when we're left with, one of the brothers, the one that's not in jail, seems to be getting himself together. And I think he works with the
Hmm.
dispensary. So in that respect, there wasn't anyone where I was like, ooh, burning questions of,
No.
yeah, what happens with them.
Yeah. Okay. I think we hit everything.
I think so too.
I loved it, like you said. These are both rereads for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm definitely looking forward to number three in this series. I think
Number
that's a real
two.
interest. Number two, sorry, number two in this series. Because I think that's a really interesting setup. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, did we do it? I don't think I have nothing else.
Yeah, no, I think we did it. So y'all, check out Kasha Thompson. And let me just say, we already gave Lizette a shout out, but it reminds me of so one of the many things that I love about being in these book groups, right? That you see people enjoy authors' stories and then they share them. And it's not that Lizette came in raving, doing like, post after post after post after post.
Yep.
But it was just enough to pique my curiosity, and an author that I hadn't heard of. And I'm glad that I gave it a try. To investigate further, because I really enjoy Kasha Thompson's catalog and I look forward to reading more from her.
Me too.
I agree with you. I will reread these. Like, it was nice to go back, even for purposes of prepping for the show, right? To go
Hmm.
back and revisit these characters in the story and take the journey with them again. And it was, again, easy breezy for
Yep.
me, in terms of the revisiting, whereas there are certain stories, as I was thinking the other day, I was like, you know what, I want to revisit Winter and Raji, and I was like,
Mm.
let me mentally prepare myself, because when I do, it's so but I feel myself moving to being in the mood for that, and so I'm
Yeah.
going to do that, right? They're going to get me where we need to be, right? No, those are
Right.
my babies, but like, they take me through the emotions. Cue up the Bee Gees and Destiny's Child remake of Emotions, right?
I'm
Taking
trying to
me over.
see. Who am I in the mood to reread right now? I think it might be Kasha Thompson, but I'm trying to look and see who else. Yeah. I don't, because I'm not, I could always go to the Ford. I could start at the Ford at the very beginning and be surprised,
Yes,
like going through the whole
yes.
thing, like I ain't never read it.
And see that, like, it just, it's a whole other conversation, right? About what are comfort reads, because the Black series is not a comfort read for me, because that is one of those experiences that I have enjoyed having more than once, but it's another one where I got to like mentally, emotionally, physically, maybe even financially, like prepare my spirit, mind, and body for that experience. That is not an easy breezy read for me. Whereas a lot of Ashley Nicole is easy breezy reads for me. And I go back to several of them over and over. So I appreciate, you know, being able to enjoy reading in this way, and to know things that fit your mood and have things that you can immediately pick up and go to that fit your mood is such a blessing,
Oh
right? It
yeah.
really is, right? I don't candidly, I don't know how people survive without reading fiction. How does the rest of the non-fiction reading world do it?
Yeah.
Because the escape, right?
Oh,
And the escape
absolutely.
can be different, right? Sometimes the escape is I want to escape and have my heart ripped out of my chest and stomped on. Cue
Right.
up Love Belvin, right?
Yeah.
I want to be outraged and terrified and empowered and inspired. Cue up, right? Joan Vassar.
Mhm.
So to be able to escape in so many different ways is just a blessing. So shout out to all of the authors. We love
Shout
you.
out.
Thank you for sharing your gifts with us.
Absolutely. All right, ma'am. I will see you soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.